Well, Charlie Kirk died because he lived in a dysfunctional country that's going to become even more dysfunctional. And that is a crux of the issue.
Yes.
All these arguments back and forth, it's revealing a underlying problem. The underlying problem is the U.S. society haven't been in a very good place for a very long time.
Yep.
And this started with the financialization of the economy when Wall Street elite decided to outsource the manufacturing out of U.S. to East Asia, so they can stick it to the unions, so they can chase profit at higher margins to exploit cheaper labors overseas, and that led to the country that is U.S. today. So now today we have all the high school graduates who hasn't gone to college. This group of people, they're being left behind because they in a service-based economy, in an information-based economy, mostly it's the 1% that's enjoying the fruits of globalization. As the factories get moved overseas, Apple, for example, they make enormous profit. Yet most of that profit from Apple, for example, Apple actually they actually sell a lot of phones in China. They make hundreds of billions of dollars for Apple sales in China. China contribute to something like 20-30% of the Apple sales, but all that money is only going to the Apple shareholders and the Apple executives. Again, all the fruit of globalization goes to the top 1%, while the rest of the population is getting left behind.
Yes.
And that is the problem, and that led to further alienation, atomization, and radicalization inside the United States. A lot of the problems, so whether left or right, and what they're arguing about, they can both agree on one thing: is society is not working, the country is screwed up, and this is the Charlie Kirk's episode is just a result of the very sharp polarization of the society.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, I would argue, is because the U.S. elite, they don't really care about the country. They don't really care about the common people. They only care about lining themselves, lining their own pockets. Whereas, in contrast to China, the Chinese leadership, they still very much want to do better for the country, and you see the results. You see the results between the two countries. China is getting better and better. Survey after survey shows that Chinese people are largely optimistic about their future 5 years from now, 10 years from now, which is a sharp contrast from the same survey taking place in U.S. and large part of Western Europe. A lot of the youth are getting left behind. They don't have better prospect than their parents had, and that is an issue. But there is no clear solution right now because we just have different politicians pointing finger at each other because that's the easiest things to do rather than finding a solution.
Yeah.
Which would actually have to upend the system, which they can because they are the system.
Yes. I mean, I think all these points are absolutely on the money. I think actually the way that these politicians engage and the way it really feels like a clown show. And I think everyone around the world is just kind of watching with question marks all around their heads, right? And it's a clear sign that people are so confused and there's such a lack of clarity. But like you said, people are all unhappy with the current conditions. But what I found especially with what's been happening with the conversation after the Charlie Kirk shooting is that everyone is pointing fingers at each other, or even just getting mad at each other for talking about Charlie in a certain way. And I still think that just completely ignores the bigger picture.
And the U.S. government is using this opportunity to further extend control and surveillance over the population. They say, oh, Charlie Kirk died for free speech, so we're gonna limit the freedom of speech from now on. Anybody who talk bad about Charlie Kirk, we're gonna revoke your passport. We're going to kick you out of the country. I mean, they say they love freedom, but I don't think they really understand it. You know, the true freedom of speech is to allow people who you don't necessarily agree with to voice their opinion. But that's not the direction the United States is going down right now, unfortunately. And I think the U.S. is going down a very, very dark path.
Yeah, agree. I mean, the last 10 years that I have spent both in the US and then moved to China, my idea of freedom has totally shifted.
So I'm traveling here with a